you personally believe that life mistakes exist, and should we regret anything from the past?
That's a tough question. I think that we all did mistakes in the past. We all fell in really dark holes in our lives. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I don't believe in regret. I believe that you learn from your mistakes. You get up from that hole and you go up on your feet, and you learn to be resilient, and then you move on. And I think that, the biggest lesson here, especially to women, is to, by falling and making mistakes, the only thing you learn is
Welcome to Sheconomy, the podcast dedicated to celebrating the rising influence of women in today's economy. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we have a very special guest, Dr. Rafif Tayara, a renowned pediatric dentist. Dr. Tayara's work spans multiple countries, and she is passionate about advancing dental care standards and education worldwide. Rafif, nice to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, a little bit about your journey. Can you share how your career began and what inspired you to enter the healthcare field?
My career began in Montreal, on the French side of Canada. I have finished medical school, dentistry, and I didn't really have like a specific passion about dentistry at that point. I was just, I knew that my place would be in healthcare, but I didn't have a very clear picture of what would I be doing really in healthcare at that point. I had an internship in a children's hospital at that point. I was just observing on the floor a pediatric dentist who was very passionate about her job. And she was a strong woman. She was very inspiring, and she was, treating sick kids on that floor in a children's hospital. It was one of the biggest children's hospital in Canada, and that really inspired me. That was really like a moment, an epiphany, as they say, and it really did a turn in my career at that point, because I really wanted to become a pediatric dentist. And from that moment on, it was just like, steps towards achieving that goal. So I finished, from, graduating from that specialty. And then I worked a little bit there. And then love took me, led me to Abu Dhabi towards 2008. Okay. And then in Abu Dhabi, I joined a North American clinic. It was like one of the oldest North American clinics, launched in the UAE. Yeah. And that's how the journey started. And from there on, I've been in the GCC in the Gulf region for the last 14, 15 years.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful journey. So we know becoming a pediatric dentist requires at least 10 years of study, probably more, and continuous learning. How do you stay determined and motivated to keep up with this lifelong commitment?
It's definitely challenging. But I think these days, I think any career, any job, you really need to be updated with the current trends, with your soft skills, with the technology advance, on your industry. I think being in a career in today's world is very different than 20 years ago. And then I feel that even your whether you have clients or patients or customers, I think they are so well-rounded, right, in knowledge and awareness. Yeah. So they come to you you even learn from them.
Correct.
So it's so important to be, knowledgeable every single day, and your knowledge, doesn't stop there. Right. But in healthcare in general, yes, it takes so long to becoming a doctor and then specializing and maybe sometimes subspecializing. But in our healthcare industry, in the dental industry per se, we witnessed so many improvements and advances, and especially technology, intrusions in the last 10 years, that it's been so hard to keep up lately. I've been lucky because I felt that also my type of personality is the type of personality that really embraces change. Versus the typical doctor personality usually are very resistant to change. They don't like change. They like to really keep their books, well tidied
Quite
up.
old school in their thoughts.
Exactly. But I like it. I find it very challenging. I like learning new things. I like doing things out of the box, and I like seeing how the technology can improve my work or make it more efficient or faster without jeopardizing or compromising quality. So it's been interesting.
Definitely. And I think you're right. Every industry is seeing advances from a technology point of view. But personally, we need to keep up with trends and with new developments, really to keep ourselves, there and top of our game and our industry. So, I can see that you embrace change well, which is amazing. So, this is an interesting one. So, who are some of the women leaders that have inspired you? So you mentioned one. Anyone else that's inspired you?
I don't really. Unfortunately, I think I've never really had, like women mentors around me. I wish I had, actually, because I feel it's so useful today for women to have, like, someone, to have your back, right? I read a lot, and through my readings, I bump into like really impressive women, right? In history or in today's, tech sector or in business sector. But I think, they are all inspiring, but I wasn't really, I feel impacted by one. And going backwards, I feel that I wish I had, one woman mentor who would really back me up, and I think it's super needed. I'm one for my daughter now. And I think that's nice to have.
Definitely. I think being a strong woman is great when you've got daughters, because they then look up to you, they see you, and you're right, you then become their mentor. Amazing. So reflecting on the past, let me read something that I loved from your Instagram, which is a quote that you've stated. If I didn't follow a wrong relationship to Abu Dhabi 15 years ago, I wouldn't be a single mum of twins 10 years ago. I wouldn't have built my career and wealth alone in the UAE. And I wouldn't have met the love of my life 10 years later and had my third child last year and published my first book. Do you personally believe that life mistakes exist, and should we regret anything from the past?
I think that, we all did mistakes in the past. We all fell in really dark holes, in our lives. I do believe in mistakes, of course. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I don't believe in regret. I believe that you learn from your mistakes. You get up from that hole and you go up on your feet, and you learn to be resilient, and then you move on. And I think that the biggest lesson here, especially to women, is to by falling and making mistakes, the only thing you learn is how fast you get up and move on. Because that's the only way to go for me. So I feel like this is really what I've learned how to do best. That's the skill that I feel I mastered throughout those years. I really learned how to get up as fast as possible and and fight through it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how do you manage the dual roles of being a leader in your field and a mother of three?
That's a tough question. First of all, I feel that it's so unfair for women. It's so unfair for women because when we start, launching our career and going full, hardcore on, launching our business, starting up, investing or thinking about investing or thinking about the best business idea, usually our biological clock ticks in, and then, we get pregnant, and then a lot of things fall down, right? And then the minute you want to, a woman starts thinking about getting promoted and going up the ladder in a business setup or in a company or in a multinational or, in any work, setup format, then you have, her kids becomes preteens, and then the hormones start building up, and then, she needs really to put on time and effort at home. Correct. Or, cater for her couple or her life or her marriage. So I feel it's throughout a life of a woman, it's always unfair for her, the forces of, dealing with the pressure, of the responsibilities on her, and at the same time focusing on, self-thriving, evolving, developing yourself, building your wealth, being a leader, absolutely, whatever that skill goes. So it's unfair, but I think at the same time, the way it happened for me is that I feel being a single mom helped me manage my time a lot. And for me, I think there was no other option. I didn't have the option of like being a housewife, chilling and then relying on someone else's income. For me, there was no option. I had to wake up and do it all. So it came a little bit by default, but at the same time, now going back, it really worked out very well. I think also that part of us as women, we build so much guilt in not being at home, and we build so much guilt in, saying, we don't really learn how to say no sometimes. And we really put on ourselves a lot of responsibilities and roles and hats that we need to wear. We say to ourselves, I need to wear this hat. I need to wear this other hat. I need to be a mom. I need to be the perfect cook. I need to take my kids to basketball games. I need to. And then, with all those roles and hats being worn, it's, something's being lost, right? Someone, you're also paying that price. So I think it's super important to, learn how to delegate and learn that, to say no to certain things, and learn to prioritize, because you cannot be everything to everyone. You have to choose, what you really want. True. And what you select the hats that you want to wear. And you work on that frame, and that's it. So for me, I really chose to be, a mom and, someone who has a career and to, that built her own wealth by herself. And I feel that, focusing on those two gave me a lot of, clarity on how I want to roll every day.
No, and kudos to you. I think, you've managed both those roles, it looks like, remarkably. And I can relate, because I talk to a lot of women leaders about the financial side of things. And you're right, there's a lot of stopping and starting. You get pregnant, then as you said, the kids start to grow up, so it slows you down. You need to give them more attention. So we just don't have that path like men, where they can just keep going and going and going. We stop, we start. But I think, overall, we're resilient, and in certain cases like yourself, as you said, you didn't have a choice, you had to. And as I say, you've done fantastic to be able to be a great mom and a leader in your field and industry. So, very, very well done.
Thank you. And I think the one of the main reasons why I'm good at my job was because I'm a mom. Being a pediatric dentist specifically, I don't think I would have ever been able to understand parents' needs or communicate with them or feel that I'm part of their world, or they maybe, feel that they're well listened. You know, they're well heard.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a mom, so I think that really kind of made me a big advantage in my industry.
True, because you had that relatability. You could relate
Exactly.
to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, just following on from that, what are the main lessons you've learnt while you were a single mum, and how did your experiences shape you both personally and professionally? Which you sort of covered some of that.
Many. I think the biggest lessons I learned in my life was through that period. I was a single mom for 10 years. So I learned a lot, actually. Resilience, I think, was one of the huge lessons that I've learned and gained. What I also learned is, I think, time management. I really learned. I was the mom, the dad, the driver, the cook, the house manager, everything in the same. I was doing it all, and I feel that I learned so much how to manage my time, how to prioritize, things in my life, how to say no. I think those were big lessons, and it helped me beyond, my single motherhood. It even helped me in my job. It helped me in, doing business. It helped me in a lot of aspects. So I think I really, those were big lessons.
So effective time management and saying no. You've said that a few. That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, saying no, and I really feel that, especially women, they have a hard time. And saying no. And also, one of the biggest lessons I've also learned was, enjoying the simple moments in life. I think I was guilty not to be able to enjoy them, and I think being a single mom, I really learned to enjoy them. I really learned to appreciate, a moment of peace, a moment of quality time with my kids, because when they were there, they were rare. And then I really felt, okay, now I really need to be in the present.
Correct, yeah.
I don't want to dwell on something that happened in the past. I don't want to think about my next task tomorrow. I really want to enjoy the present. And I really learned how to at least be in the present for a certain time, and then forget about all the duties and responsibilities, and just be in that moment.
Absolutely. Enjoy and be in that moment. I like it. So can you describe a typical self-care activity or ritual that that helps you recharge?
I think my biggest moment of self-care is when I go to the spa and have a massage.
Yeah.
It's a rare moment lately, but when I do it, I feel it's the only moment when I'm forced to disconnect from my phone, to disconnect from any requests, from any part of my life. My reception team cannot reach me. My patients cannot reach me. My kids cannot reach me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm the only, it's the only moment where I'm unreachable.
Yeah.
And it feels precious. It feels like this is the moment where I'm with myself.
True. No.
Yeah.
Nice. I think we all need that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
I need to be able to learn to be on a solo retreat. That's my next milestone. My husband does that. Yeah, I really need to learn how to be to hibernate in some.
I think it'd be nice.
Yeah. In some monastery.
Yeah, true. So how do you stay adaptable and resilient in the changing environment of the healthcare industry?
I think, the key here is just embracing change. And I think in healthcare, a lot of healthcare professionals can be resistant to that change. There has been a lot of technology advancements in healthcare lately, especially in dentistry. We have a lot of artificial intelligence being built in our 3D scans, and our monitors, and our intraoral cameras. And for me personally, it's been a huge learning curve in the last few years to be able to learn and study that, and then embrace it, and then implement it in your daily practice, because it wasn't easy. We come from healthcare professionals are really boring people who come from very raw medical backgrounds, and when you put them in front of a tech device, or something with artificial intelligence or 3D, or the first glance it feels like completely Mandarin. So it's taking a while for us to embrace that change, and to be able to even not just learn it, because it's just easy to go take a course and learn and have your credits, right? But the hardest part is to actually take what you learn and implement it in your daily practice and share it with your patients, and then have it become part of your daily routine. That's the biggest challenge. And the fact that now doctors are really embracing technology is a huge leap in the history of healthcare, because for the first time you're seeing our healthcare system super heavy with technology. And and there's a lot of people who would argue with our doctors gonna be replaced by robots one day, right? True. Or who's gonna do your surgery next, the doctor or a robot? But I feel that technology is really making our daily practice super more efficient, reliable, more accurate, right? We're getting a lot of help from it, but I think we're far from being replaced by AI. It's going to take a lot of brains to, match all the diagnostics and X-rays and exam, and have it in one brain that very well, diagnose and treatment plans, because, the AI and the robots are still missing that human touch, right? Correct. This human connection with your patient, with the child on my chair, with the parent facing you, tailoring your treatment plan, within their, personal or family needs, is never going to be replaced by technology.
Yeah, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head in terms of, as a pediatric dentist, you are dealing with children and their families. That personal touch and that personal approach is very difficult to replicate by AI.
Yeah, and I always say it's it's just another tool. We're never gonna be replaceable. We just have more tools, to juggle and to manipulate and to play with. Yeah, right. But no one can replace you.
True. Maybe make it more efficient, but not replace. Yeah. So these advancements, how have they impacted your practice and your leadership approach?
Totally. I mean, I think technology itself in a healthcare practice, first, is very attractive to a patient. When patients see technology in a practice, they already notice that, okay, you're up to date, right? The fact that you're already implementing it in your practice, means a lot to them. And at the same time, it's as I said, it's making our daily practice much more efficient, faster, and then they can see, right? It makes the patient sees his results. It makes things concrete and more visual. Yeah. And that created a lot of difference. Because the medical field is a very raw field, right? You really have to understand things in the raw sense, in an abstract way. When you don't come from that industry. Yeah. So technology had made it very visual. To be able to see your Hollywood smile, for example, in front of your eyes on a screen, and you see yourself in a mock-up. Exactly. after the surgery is done, to be able to see your smile, you see the result of your braces or your clear aligners, after it's done, and to visualize it has made a huge difference.
Great. So in terms of your leadership style, how would you describe it, and how has it evolved over the years?
I evolved a lot, actually, as a leader or as a manager in my healthcare setup. When I started first, I was very raw. in my leadership skills.
Yeah.
I was really, at some point, I was really like bumping into walls. I was clashing, with a lot of my staff. I learned a lot. I think I think the years of practice really polished my angles so much. I learned in the last few years a lot. One of the things that I've learned is to really take the blame more, to have a bigger share in taking the blame and a lesser share in taking the credit. And and I always feel that if something fails in the circuit or in the circle of delivering excellence to my patients, I feel always that I have to blame myself, because it's either I didn't communicate my message well to my team, or I didn't make myself clear. So I think this is really something I learned. I used to blame this and that, and then lately I really feel, okay, if they didn't get it, it's probably my fault. I didn't really communicate the message well or clearly. So now I'm doing it better. I can't say it's perfect.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm doing really great at it, but I think I'm getting there.
That's so interesting, because it's so easy to blame others when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But taking that approach and saying, well, hold on, maybe that's something that I didn't communicate effectively. Yeah, that's good to hear.
It helps, right?
It makes things
at least you have something to work on.
Yeah. No, I love the approach. So in your experience, what are some of the effective ways to empower women in your field in particular?
I think in my field or in any other field, it's for me. For me, I've always seen it like this: the only way to empower women is financial independency. It's freeing for women. And whether is it in healthcare or in other industries, it's really, the message for any woman out there who is really, feeling that she's compromising, for example, in her house, and then, she doesn't have enough time or energy to put in her career. It's really the way to go. It needs to be a priority for women, whether they're starting a career or in a career, whether they're in a marriage or in a relationship or single. It really needs to be a priority to gain their financial independency, because when a woman gains financial independency, it's her empowerment becomes built in, and she can at that moment, say no much more easily. And she's able to make decisions in a more with more clarity.
Correct.
And she's able at that moment to be in certain situations or be in relationships because she wants to be in that relationship, not because she needs to. And it's a very powerful thing to be financially independent, to make your own, to be productive. And to choose, to have the freedom to choose how you want to spend your time, where you want to spend it, and when you want to spend it. So
that's absolute music to my ears, as you know. I totally agree. I think it is the most important. Doesn't matter which industry you're from, but gaining clarity in your finances is going to give you the confidence, as you've just said, to make decisions and to really back yourself.
Yeah.
And not have to think about, that I need this person or I need someone.
Totally.
No,
Totally.
And
especially, for example, when I was a single mom, like it was a personal experience, but the fact that I was financially independent and I was maybe making more as a single mom than, maybe 80 or 90% of families with a mom and a dad making together an income, right? That gave me a lot of, facilities into, for example, having quality time with my kids, right? Into choosing, right, when do I go to work,
Yeah.
and how do I work, and which weekends I can just take off and feel the need to spend it with my kids who, for example, on that specific weekend need me.
Yeah.
So it gave me so much freedom and leverage to function even as a mom and as a woman in my life, right? So there's so much power and impact to being financially independent, so much more than investing or just, buying the bag that you want, right? It gives you a lot of freedom. And it's not only freedom of buying the products that you want, but it's also the freedom of how you think, or, the freedom or the luxury of time.
True.
And that is priceless.
Amazing. Yeah. I have to agree. I totally agree, You know I do. So, what are your future goals and aspirations for your career and your practice?
Future goals and aspirations. I love starting things that are new. I think I'm the type of person that gets bored when I reach like a comfort zone. So where whether when I reach a certain comfort zone, for example, after I cross a challenge, I feel that I'm a little bit itchy, and I start feeling like, okay, what's the next next thing to do exactly? So I don't think this will ever stop in me. I always feel that, okay, I'm next to the next chapter, whether it's maybe writing a different book, or maybe starting a new business in healthcare. I'm preparing actually a small startup now. Nice. So yeah, it's always ongoing. So it's never really a goal, but it's like, I feel like it's always an ongoing thing that keeps me, on my toes. And I don't see, I don't see retirement really as a goal. I see it more as, it's almost happening, but then it's, I feel like I'm just working for the fun of it, Nice. So yeah, that's it. And I feel like my plans for retirement are mostly like, being in a quiet place, isolated from people, but at the same time, like, doing something,
I was going to say, I think you would get bored based on the fact that you're looking for the next challenge. That's
exactly.
Nice. That's very nice. And what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I think the only legacy that, I would love to leave would be for my kids. I'm proud, to see. I feel blessed to see them, growing by my side, and to see, the things that I'm doing, and to feel maybe a little bit inspired by that. At the same time, I feel that, I really want to leave for them a legacy of a lot of, women empowerment messages, especially for my daughter. I feel my two daughters now. So I have a baby of 10 months and a teenager. So I feel that there's a lot of lessons that I've learned through my life that I want to pass it on.
Yeah.
And I feel that one of the main things, that I would want to do is, to spend that quality time, teaching them everything I learned. I think this is the really core of parenting to do. Yeah.
So what final message or advice would you like to share with our listeners about pursuing their passions, achieving leadership roles, and empowering themselves or others?
Yeah, I think one of the main messages that I would want any person to hear, and specifically women, would be to really put yourself first. I think as women, whether is it in our career or whether we're in the workforce, whether we are moms or in a marriage or in a relationship, sometimes we don't put ourselves first. And I think in order to pursue your career and, push yourself to your best version, it's so important to really put yourself first, because your happiness comes first. And if you cannot fill from an empty cup. So whether your goal is to be, the greatest mom or the greatest wife or, the greatest person in the relationship, it's super important to put yourself first, to fill your identity, to find your purpose, to know exactly, what you want in this life, what do you want to do, what do you want to achieve. The moment you you answer those questions clearly, you discover a lot, but at the same time, you are able to give more to your kids, to your couple, to your friends, even to your environment. And I think there's so much to say about that, because when you fill that cup, so much positive things happen next.
I love that. That's a great answer. And I think you're right. First, find yourself, put yourself first. And once you've got that, then you are the best version for your children or for your partner or whoever. I like the glass filled as well. I think that's a good way of looking at it, because if it's not, you're not fully there. So I like that. Very, very good. Very nice. Rafif, thank you so much for your time. We've run out of time, but there was so much great content there and so much value that you've just given our listeners. If anybody wants to contact you, where can they find you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure meeting you and knowing you, Sophia. For patients who would like to reach me, I'm always available at the clinic, at the practice on Al Wasl Road. The practice is called Dr. Michael's Children Dental Center. And I'm always reachable and available through social media, through my Instagram account at Dr. Tayara, and on my own personal website.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.